Force podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's-own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M. Do we all recover, or did I recover from the last show? So some people said I was a little grumpy.
Some?
I got a few notes. They asked if I was okay. I said, yeah.
Did you take all your meds this morning?
I did. Doubled up on the Xanax. We should be okay.
What does Xanax do? Does that like calm you?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Pete Janson.
How you doing? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what you do when you clear the air. The air's clear. You can breathe now. Now, let's see what Dr. Montgomery has. I'm looking at some of the past shows. Rigorous background check, national background check.
What's the Desi Arnaz phrase? You got some splaining to do.
Before he comes on, what's going on Saturday over at Gerhard's?
Oh, there's a meet and greet for I shouldn't say all, but a lot of the local Republican candidates, Mary Cole, Jim Carris, Ben Grum, and Carla Wyckoff, who's running for circuit court clerk or circuit clerk. I'm not sure what the exact title is in Lake County, but we've had all of them but Carla on, and I think we're going to work on getting Carla on. But Jim Carris is running for Congress against Brad Schneider. We've had many conversations about Mary Cole running against Eric Rinehart for Lake County State's Attorney. And Ben Grum is running for Lake County Board, not in Lake Forest, but in Lake Bluff and further north, but he's a Lake Forest police officer. He's running against Sandy Hart. I put out an invitation through a mutual friend to get if Sandy Hart wanted to come on the podcast since Ben was on. I haven't heard anything back yet, but and I don't know if Andy Dalkin may be part of that as well. We've had Andy on. He's running for Lake County Board as well in most of Lake Forest. So, yeah, I mean, just going to Gerhard's, it's from, what time is it from? Saturday morning.
In the morning, probably around 10 o'clock, I'm guessing.
Well, let's get it right. So we don't have people go the wrong time and miss everyone.
Well, they can just go to our site.
It's
While you're
on here we go. Meet and greet. 9 to 11 a.m. at
so
Gerhard's.
10 o'clock's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
So the
Literally sweet spot because they got a lot of sweets there at
hey,
Gerhard's.
glad you caught that. The DNC, how'd that go down? Did the Palestinians get their say, or was it?
Well, it depends on who you talk to because there's a story online being circulated that the Harris team cut a deal with the Palestinians to dial it down on the protests in exchange for some stuff to happen for Palestine in the negotiations with Israel. I don't know if that's just hearsay or if there's any truth to that, but I do know. I mean, there was some nasty stuff happening. The Israeli consulate is in the same building
Yeah,
as the Ogilvy train station. And I happened to see this morning a press conference by the Chicago police chief, Snelling, I believe is his name, and police superintendent. And he said something to the effect of our female police officers were subjected to absolutely disgusting language by these Palestinian protesters. Just things that you would not, want any member of your family or any of your coworkers ever to be called. And, I have to think, that if you go back to, I always am amused when I see women for Palestine or LGBTQ for Palestine, because good luck if you're a woman or good luck if you're LGBTQ in Palestine or any other Muslim ruled country, because they kill gay people. I mean, that's how horrible.
have you seen
They,
those pictures, like Lebanon, early 70s, how women looked, and
yeah, it
they
looked
look
like the
good.
United States. It
Yeah,
looked
yeah,
like, and then the Islamic and not all Muslims are fundamentalists, and not all Muslims support terrorism. I don't make it very clear, but you have these fundamentalists that think it's okay to kill Jews and Christians and force women to wear, all these things and give up their careers. I mean, things that would be completely unacceptable in America. So, I mean, I've gave my 2 cents about the whole Israel thing, but that was something that
so,
I saw this morning. But I guess CPD did their job. It's amazing. As one of my friends who's
good thing they defund the police.
as one of my friends who's a police officer in Chicago said, it's amazing what we can do when the mayor lets us do our job. So
Yeah,
maybe we should have a Democratic convention every week here in Chicago, because suddenly we're tough on crime.
yeah. Uh, any idea how many arrests? I know the big
I
thing.
haven't seen anything. I know there was a shooting at the White Palace Grill early this morning, and a bunch of Democratic DNC delegates happened to be in there at 3 in the morning. I don't know. I guess you're at the White Palace Grill because
Yeah.
you're working off the hangover from partying. But
So
I don't know what someone was shot. I don't know if it was a delegate or just somebody nearby, or I don't know all the details. I saw a WGN alert about it, but
it seems to me all the mainstream press is kind of harsh on Kamala. Any idea what's going
the grass is always greener on the other side. I mean, a lot of Republican friends and a lot of Trump supporting friends think they're giving her a pass. So I don't know. I mean,
Well, when you see Jeff Bezos's paper, the Washington Post, slamming her positions, I'm like, wow.
well, what are her positions? I mean, fracking is the best example. For years, she was against fracking, but now that she needs to win Pennsylvania, she's suddenly for fracking. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. We have fracking in Illinois, down in
Really?
southern Illinois. Yes.
By Carbondale?
I don't know if it's by Carbondale, but there are parts of Illinois that have fracking. Former Governor Pat Quinn learned that the hard way when he said he was against fracking, not knowing it was happening in his own state, because classic Chicago politician doesn't know anything going on south of I-80. So, but Yeah, we have fracking in Illinois. So, and the Keystone Pipeline would have gone through Southern Illinois, and that was a terrible, my opinion, a terrible thing to shut down. But,
Saw an interesting ad, let's say ad, a post by Eric Rinehart, put a picture of him right next to Kamala, like
oh yeah, really?
the dynamic duo.
Two peas in a pod. No, well, you got to be careful. Look. I think there's a lot of people who are going to vote for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. It's not Kamal. It's not the first syllable is what you accent.
Kamala.
Kamala Harris. Because if you say Kamala Harris, it's racist.
What?
So I saw a program, I think it was CNN, where they talked about this, that
I
people
know
are
racist, and that's not racist.
that Trump and some other people are purposely saying Kamala. It's kind of like, remember how people would say Barack Hussein Obama when he was
Yeah.
running, so it is Kamala Harris. We should pronounce everybody's name the way they want it pronounced. But I think there's going to be a lot of people that vote for her and for Mary Cole because there are a lot of people that voted for Joe Biden and did not vote for Eric Rinehart 4 years ago. So I don't,
I,
Eric Rinehart is going to make the Lake County State's Attorney election a referendum on Donald Trump
yeah,
because he doesn't want to talk about his record.
yeah. Well, I think the pendulum's swinging the other way. Just ask Harley Davidson and Jack Daniels. Who cares about Jack Daniels? We got Dr. Matt Montgomery,
I'm sorry. I had to
superintendent,
set the
everybody's
computer.
everybody's buddy. You just get a haircut? You look like you're 8 years old.
Thank you for noticing, but no, I didn't.
Oh, okay. You just
Hey, I'm sorry about the tech. I had some tech issues. We had to restart the computer. Internet was having troubles, but I'm here. Sorry
denial
about
of service.
everything is up and working now, so I don't know what's going on.
Is
All
Google
right.
working?
What
Is
is what?
Google working on your computer?
It is.
Okay.
Well played, Joe. Well played. Happy Friday to you both.
Happy Friday, Matt. It took me a while to get over my attitude. We had parents care on, and I kind of left the rails there for a little bit, and I've calmed down and took a couple Xanax. I think I'll be okay. Um, what the heck happened? How you been, and what the heck happened?
Doing well. It's been a good week in spite of some opportunities that we're talking about today.
Yeah,
But what happened on this issue is we had a teaching assistant that was going through training on Monday. It's called Institute Day, which are the first few days with faculty. Monday afternoon, a staff member called a principal and said that they were looking up new people and found information via Google that we didn't know about. And immediately after that staff person called us, we were on the phone with the employee, and the employee confirmed that that person, I'm trying to talk in generalities to make sure that I'm protecting people as much as I can. You guys can say a lot more than I can.
yeah,
But it appears as if that person falsified / omitted where they had worked. And we asked them to bring their stuff back in, and they didn't start. The important thing for me, the silver lining, is that this person was not in front of kids. But quite candidly, to tell you that I was extremely disappointed that this happened is probably an understatement, and my frustration was over the top that we missed it. The elephant in the room, and the thing I can never explain myself out of, is that we missed a Google search. We Google search employees. We missed this one. And there's no excuse for that. And I'm not ever going to tell you that anything otherwise. We did a whole bunch of things right. So we onboarded 70 people for the start of the school year. Now, that doesn't mean we have 70 new positions, but we had 70 people switch. And the fact that we missed this one, and I would say it was probably the one that was the most colossal that we missed, is
I hope.
it is unfortunate. Well, we confirmed, and we re-screened everybody again. prior to school starting to make sure that, Joe, we didn't do what you just said, because that was my Monday night, part of my Monday night rant. We need to put everybody through again to make sure that we didn't miss it. But here's what, I mean, it's always more complicated than it seems, at least from my vantage point. So you have a person who was working in an area child care center, a kindergarten through fourth grade, and they had worked there through April. We did reference checks that were glowing that said that they would hire this person on the spot again if given the opportunity. When asked why they stopped in April instead of going through the end of the year in this local child center, and they were, I think, an assistant director of that, they said to finish their early childhood degree, bachelor's degree. So you have a person who is working with kindergarten to fourth graders who stops a month earlier to finish their early childhood degree, and they get glowing reviews. That all checks out, right? Then you do a federal and a state background check that comes back clear. And what was neglected off of the application is that they were also substituting in Wisconsin at a high school.
So the high school, so you're saying, because the question I've had a lot of people who work in public education say to me is, how does a high school teacher from Kenosha go from that position to being an aide at an elementary school? That is not a normal career path.
They don't, right? So that is not something that we would have ever like looked at a viable candidate. They would have been screened through that. Like that would have been a red flag. But when that isn't on their application, but there is another full-time employment that we can reference check in early childhood as they're getting an early childhood degree, that all makes sense, Joe. So that's when I say it's when you look at that rear view mirror, like, well, what the hell? How could this happen? Well, you had a person who has had two jobs and they omitted one of them. And they weren't a high school teacher. They were a high school substitute teacher. They weren't subject to faith laws because they were in Wisconsin. Oh, and by the way, they weren't charged for anything. They, I think, did some things that would make them nowhere near a candidate for us and would be a horrible fit for young people by my standards. But when you have people omitting on their application this stuff, as well as marking no that they didn't resign to avoid termination. So when they falsify that, you're always going to have bad actors. With this one, it would have been exceptionally easy if we would have done a Google search. Now, we do Google searches. We even put them through social media. We have a third-party provider. We just added this recently that runs social media screening for them. That came back clear. So when I look at the fact that we missed one element that would have avoided all of this, I was not in a good place Monday night. So I said, how are we going to pivot? So first of all, make sure that this person is not with us or anywhere near our children. Two, I moved into, okay, you need to confirm with me that that we put everybody through the screening process again. Those came back good. Then I said, systematically, what are we going to do? So I've reached out to two firms right now to get recommendations for a full HR audit. And I would argue in the last 3 years, we have upped our HR procedures in ways that this district or districts have not seen in a long time. And I've celebrated that work. And we still miss this. So now I'm like, let's bring somebody else in and see. Google, like I can say we're going to systemize Google searches, which we are going to do now. But that wasn't enough for me. I want other outside eyes on it to see, is there anything else that we're missing or anything else we can ratchet up? Because that's how upset I was that this simple thing could have put us in a really bad situation.
Who's head of hiring over there, Matt?
There's an assistant superintendent of human resources.
Okay. I don't know who the person is. Could be a great person, but is this a fireable offense?
This is a offense that is open for discipline because
Yeah.
this was a mistake. And people need to be accountable for mistakes. I can't talk to you about employee discipline. You know that.
Yeah, I know.
I can tell you that this situation is treated like any other, where you have a mistake that put us in jeopardy, and I need to weigh out discipline that could be awarded is the wrong way to say that,
Yeah.
but to be given to any individual who is ultimately responsible for this work. And yes, that is a part of this conversation. I even put that in the letter to the community. I just can't talk about that.
Yeah,
I will also tell you that we have 1,000 employees, over 1,000 W-2s that go out. And humans make errors. And as the leader of the institution, you need to weigh out these errors and appropriate consequences. And I assure you I'm doing that. I'm just not going to go through it with you on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, where I'm coming from is this is, the second time, I think back in February, we were talking about what we're going to do. We're going to do a federal search. I get the background checks aren't perfect. I get it. There's so many different I know a lot of people that are in
background check. It didn't show up on a background.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I get it because it's hard to get stuff to show up, especially if nobody's charged and in the time frame. I get the whole thing. But as you said, you're under scrutiny since February and the Google search wasn't done. So somebody's got to roll for that unless you want to be the one to roll for it. You know what I mean? I gave parents care. What are you laughing at, Joe? I
thought it was sorry. It's a nervous habit I have of laughing.
Okay. No, look, I had parents care on begrudgingly.
No, do you get in trouble at church? I always get in trouble at church giggles. My mother always was.
I'm not allowed in church.
I have to sit like this.
Yeah, me too. Listen, but Pete, to your point, yes, consequences have to be delivered. Somebody has to be held accountable. As the leader, I am owning it. So to your point, is somebody who's going to own it at the top? It's me. So all the celebrations go to other people. This is how leadership, or at least how I believe leadership should be. And if there's a colossal screw up, you better be sure that I am owning the responsibility.
Since you didn't ask my opinion, I'll give it anyways. Whoever's in charge of hiring's got to get canned. That's just my opinion. Joe, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, is there going back to how you first found out about this? You say it was it was an employee of the district that brought it to your attention. So
that was the first one. Then there was multiple. There were parents that came forward, and then there were other employees that also came forward.
Okay. Parents Care is saying they're the ones that brought it, and that you're just saying that other people brought it, not to give them credit for doing it. Did Parents Care bring this to you, or how did it, or were they just one of the people that brought it to you? I don't know. What's your take on all that? Because they're saying you're saying they didn't. It wasn't them. They're claiming that if it hadn't been for them, you wouldn't have known about it.
One, I have the pleasure of interacting with 6,000 plus parents or guardians. Just wrap your head around that. There's 6,000 plus guardians and parents that I have the pleasure.
I'm one of them for one more year.
So one, I'm intrigued by the fascination of credit, and I'm curious why that is exceptionally important. But I'm going to tell you that a staff member told me first. Did other parents reach out via email and via calls that's later that same day? Absolutely. But the first person that let us know was a staff member, and subsequent staff members also did. I don't get the I'm taking credit. I'm taking credit for this mistake. I get that. But I don't care as much of who told me and who wants to celebrate that without them, this wouldn't have been found. I just don't get it.
Okay. What about you saying there was something about he wasn't hired yet by the board, but there was an email that went out to parents saying, please welcome our new staff, and this individual's name was listed in the email.
That is always confusing, and it has been confusing. As a former board member, you may remember this. There's board policy that allows the superintendent to hire prior to board approval, especially in situations where the board meetings don't coincide with when school is starting or when there's an immediate need. Because you wouldn't have, for example, you wouldn't want, if that teaching assistant served a student, let's say, who has an individual education plan that needed service on the first day of school, you wouldn't want me to not be able to hire a teaching assistant or a teacher to provide those services for that young person, because the next school board meeting is not until August 27th for 67, but school started on August 21st. But it's confused people for a long time in every place I've worked. And it's a nuance with making sure that children are served in a timely fashion, and we're not calling board meetings every time I'm hiring people, given the fact that, like I told you, that we hired 70 this season.
And honestly, the vote by the board is usually perfunctory. I can't recall a school board ever voting down a hire after they've been put in. But I was just curious because that was something that was a point of discussion. Last thing I want to ask about what happened. Was there a written procedure or checklist somewhere, either in a book or now online or something, that there was a box to say internet search or Google search or something? Was that codified into a procedure, or was it just something, hey, we're supposed to know that?
No, it wasn't codified. Yes, it will be. Yes, it was supposed to be just done. And I think in the process, as you have multiple layers of people screening and going through, I can understand, one, the importance of checklist, and two, assuming that somebody else has already done this. And in this situation, it was a colossal mistake, in my opinion, that we haven't systemized. That's the easy fix, Joe. The easy fix is, okay, we're systemizing, you're in charge of this, and here's the checklist that goes with it. Maybe that's enough. For some, it's not enough for me, because we're going to bring people in to see if there's anything else that we can just ratchet up. And I'm looking for services like the social media screener that we have. You can pay for an additional layer of searches on applicants. There's also, in our background software that we run through, there is the ability to do sophisticated Google searching that you can't do just by the layman approach of us just sitting here. I'm looking at adding that on. So I'm trying to put redundancies in so we never get in this situation again. But Pete, to your point, I think it would be easier that if once somebody screws up, I just fire them. There's 1,000 employees, and I guess I have to weigh out the mistake, the context, and what the appropriate response is. And does one mistake in any of my employees, what is the threshold? And I am constantly wrestling with, where does it fall on that continuum of discipline? Because with 1,000 people, there's going to be a mistake made every day.
Matt, mistakes can be made every day. First of all, kudos to you. You found out about it and you moved the person along. That was the first question I asked. Second thing that came up, Matt, was parents care. I don't think they're looking for credit. I think they're more of like a gotcha group. They're waiting for you to screw up and say, hey, gotcha. That's why I have a problem with them, because you're in a hard enough position. So I'm still sticking up for you. But one of the things they brought up was, you said a parent told you about what happened, and they said that you have a culture of people being afraid to bring stuff to you. What do you say to that?
So my response to that claim would be, if that was true, I don't think a staff member would have had the psychological safety and trust to come forward with this in the first place. So the counter to that, what I don't understand about that argument is, then why did the staff member come to the principal and say, I've done this, I'm nervous about this, can you help me? I don't believe that. I guess I don't believe that stereotype.
Does the school district, because the state of Illinois has, because of all, the state of Illinois unfortunately has a very bad history of corruption and things happening. So what they did was they created a formal whistleblower process that I believe they're called an ethics officer or OEIG, Inspector General. I can't remember the exact title, but they have a formal procedure that employees who feel uncomfortable going to their boss or their boss's boss, but have a concern, they can go to this. And unless it turns out they're just flat out lying just to get revenge on someone or something like that, they're not going to be in trouble. And having dealt with this as a manager, I've seen where if the complaint turns out to be valid, we don't know who the complainer was to protect their anonymity. Has there been, or do you think there could be some thought to having, because if you have this cloud of allegations, and even if you didn't, would it be appropriate to maybe have a process where there's someone, that there's an avenue for someone to go to within the district and have anonymity without having to go to, because a lot of people, they just don't feel comfortable talking to their boss or even their boss's boss because, they don't know who knows what and everything. So,
yeah, I think so. One, we have it and it's in place, and it's called our confidential reporting tool for
okay.
that very reason. For everything you described. And with 1,000 people running around, there is going to be a continuum of who's comfortable of talking with whom, in spite of us spending a great deal of work on creating a culture of belonging where people feel safe. We had a professional learning with our administrators a couple of years ago about psychological safety, because there's a lot of research where, in the OR room, nurses and lower level doctors are afraid to tell the head surgeon that they left a pair of scissors in a body. Like this is a real thing. So yes, we have a tool. It's called the confidential reporting tool, completely anonymous, and can do exactly what you're saying, and hopefully help scaffold those people depending on where they are on their level of trust.
Can you tell us how many times it's been used?
So one, I probably can't, and I don't know. So okay, I don't know the number, but I probably can't tell you even if I could.
All right, fair enough. Just curious.
I'm happy, Joe, that I don't have that number in my head.
That's true.
I'm going to ask after this, though. I'm just curious.
Well, Matt, I'm going to go back to technology. Sorry, yeah, go ahead,
Can
Matt.
I say one more thing, Joe?
Go ahead.
Remember that confidential reporting tool also goes for parents and for students, too. So okay. It's staff, parents, students. We want a community that always feels like they have an avenue to come forward, especially when you think of maybe a student is having a friend who is having suicidal ideations, and they don't want to talk about it, and they're afraid of who to talk to. So we want people to use that tool.
Do you feel comfortable that everybody knows about this? Do you guys publicize it, or
we do, and frequently? I would say that we could probably promote it every day. And it still wouldn't be enough, but we try to do it frequently throughout the school year.
We keep talking about technologies here. Let's, coming from the software business, all technology is supposed to do is speed up a process. Okay. You can do all the Google checks, but if nobody acts on it, it doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, again, I'm going to rehash this. If somebody doesn't feel like really anxious right now that they're going to get canned, this is going to keep going on again. Because how many hires do you have a year, Matt? Rough take.
So we did 70 this season.
So, okay. How long is the season?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, to get ready for the school year, Pete. So,
okay,
we'll call it 70.
Okay. Of all the stuff that you got going on, those are the 70 most important things that could be happening based on what's happened this last year. and that person that's in charge of the inflow or the onboarding knows it is. And I don't know if you're allowed to get rid of whoever it is or whatever the process is, or they got to screw up again. But that, I mean, there has to be a spotlight on it because here, what if this happens again in 2 months, Matt? I know it's a hypothetical and you say, well, I can't answer that, but what if it happens
No,
again?
that's not true. I can't answer. One, I think I have the jurisdiction to, pending board approval, issue discipline up to termination. I don't think I do have that ability.
Good.
Anybody who was responsible for this is over aware, exceptionally aware of where I am on this. And if it happened in 2 months, Pete,
yeah,
we had a similar situation, the conversation for progressive discipline would be on the extreme side, because I can't tell you, like, I believe in supporting people, but I also believe in holding them accountable. And it would be easier for me politically if I said, somebody makes a mistake like this, I'm just firing. Like, and sometimes if the mistake is to that level, I would do that, but it's my responsibility to set the level, and then the board's responsibility to hold me accountable. And if the screw up's big enough, then they should can me. And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir.
You're okay, Joe. Go ahead.
If this had happened, if this individual had worked at a school in Illinois instead of another state, would there have been systems in place to catch this?
So, one, they were in a system in Illinois, right? So
I thought he was in Kenosha, though, where these
the primary role was a local school in Illinois.
Oh, okay. I thought because it was reported in the Kenosha newspaper that
there was 2 jobs.
Okay.
So the alleged impropriety was out of state.
Right.
While they were simultaneously working in Illinois. So
he did not put on his application the Wisconsin job.
No.
So my question is, if, let's say he had worked at a school district in Illinois and omitted it from his application, would there have been an Illinois system that would have detected that, Faith's law or any of that stuff?
So Faith's law is limited to this. So one, there were no charges. So if you just move this district to Illinois, there was no charges that were made. Then you have to account that Faith's law is a self-disclosure law where the employee has to say where they worked, and the employee has to report, did they do anything that would allow them to, did they avoid termination? So there's a opponent of this, and I've got some notes, but it's too heavily reliant on the employee. So, and the database is managed by the employer. So if you look at what D67 and D115 just put through ISB, they put a resolution to campaign for the Illinois State Board of Education to create a data warehouse for all of this information, where districts can go find out more information to substantiate whether the self-disclosure actually is accurate.
But that would only be within the state of Illinois.
Only in the state of Illinois. But I think, so yes, but I think Faith's law is a step in the right direction. But our boards are arguing that it's not enough because it's still too much on the, we're going to assume people are going to do the right thing. And they do 9 times out of 10, or in this situation, 69 out of 70. But it's not good enough yet because there's holes in terms of how they report on what they did. So
how can we fix it, Matt?
How can we fix?
We get Brad Schneider on and say, hey man, we got issues with the schools and figure out
Congressman Brad Schneider.
Yeah.
Uh, so I would say that the resolution that the 67 and 115 boards put together is a step in the right direction, where the state is managing this data as opposed to it is being disclosed by the individual. And then districts are trying to find a needle in a haystack. And you know how hard it was. I think you know how hard it was for me last year to find something that was allegedly occurred 20 years prior.
Yeah.
We're forcing districts to go on a wild goose chase on something that has, the stakes are awfully high if we miss. So I think that's what the board's campaign is right now. And I want to celebrate people. I think the board is always under attack. They're public officials, but these two boards are taking an action specifically on this issue to try to make it better, which compiles the interest of, or it adds insult to injury how angry I was on Monday.
I mean, there's a national data. So the retail industry has a national database that if you steal from, a Walmart in California, and then you go to a Target in Illinois and apply for a job, they flag you to prevent that. So, and again, that's an industry-generated database. It's not run by the federal government. Would there be any thought of maybe trying to get something in the, because this, I mean, retail, obviously the retailers are doing this because they want to protect their assets, because these people are taking their money from them by stealing. But I would argue our students are a much more important asset. Would there be any thought of leading somehow, I don't know if it's through that National School Board Association or some, I'd hate to get the U.S. Department of Education involved because it's a lot of bureaucracy, but some way of doing this, because we're so close to Wisconsin. I mean, we could have lunch at the Brat. We could leave now and have lunch at the Brat stop in Kenosha.
Is that an invite? Because I can get the car.
But we're so close to Wisconsin here that I would think we would want to make sure, or do some extra steps, or maybe even work something out just with Wisconsin because we're so close to it. And again, I think you've made it clear that he never put anything about the Wisconsin thing on the job, so you wouldn't have had any ability to do that. But if there was some way that his name just gets entered into a database, and if he did something anywhere, whether it's Illinois, Wisconsin, or Texas, whatever, that there's a flag. I mean, the technology's there, Pete.
I think it is there, Joe, right now, but it's only for if you've been charged, and if you're a sex offender, or if you've engaged in child harm. That database is there.
Right.
But it isn't giving us, I think there's opportunities to make it more stringent. I don't know how to do it right now. So we're talking to the state.
No, I get it. We take more. This is bigger than Lake Forest, but
we're trying.
We had when John Noble was on, and I know John is president of the high school board, and this was at the elementary district, but we had a very good conversation with John about the pass the trash concept. And do you think maybe there needs to be some way in an industry as sensitive as education, with the exposure of children to these employees, that we get away from the culture of if you do something bad, you just resign and it goes away?
Yeah, I think that the pass the trash legislation, we should probably not call it that, but that's what it is, right? I think it's going to make a significant impact on doing just that, of the culture of, I can offer somebody an exit strategy, or their attorney can say, we're willing to resign, but there's a non-disclosure with it about that. That's what that legislation is circumventing. We need to make it bigger than just Illinois, because people are moving from out of state, and it is we're talking about children. So I become awfully emotional about how important this is.
All right, Matt, I need your help. I got a bet with Philippe for a Zima.
Zima.
Do they still make it, Zima?
Pete, if you offer me a Zima, I'm going to say thank you.
They won't serve that at the Broad Stop, I'll tell you that.
I think I want cheese curds if we go. Would you buy cheese curds, please?
He's all right. Look, these guys are, trying to dig up some stuff. There's some big conspiracy that you have. If I put a request for a FOIA on what happened, would it take me more than 5 business days to get the information on what is allowed to be given to me?
So it could. And let me tell you why.
Yeah.
So there are some parents or organizations within our community that have put in 50 or more FOIAs within a 12-month period. And if you are a parent or an organization who has put in 50 or more, the Attorney General allows districts to put them into a recurrent filer, which extends the ability to respond for those recurrent FOIA individuals who met that threshold to 21 days. The rationale behind that is that public taxpayers we're serving so many public taxpayers that there is a limit that the Attorney General is trying to put on those requesters because the amount of time and energy and money that's spent on each FOIA. So let's look. So this week, we've received 10 FOIAs, which is for viewers, Freedom of Information Act.
Right.
So there's 10 of those this week. There, within those 10, because I looked this up because I thought this may be coming, there's 20 plus categories that are hit in those 10. Some of them are quick and easy answers. Some of them are hundreds of pages of documents in this week's request that then we have to figure out, are they able to be released in their current form? Are they omitted? Are they able to be released with redacted elements? And all of that has to go through legal. So if you have an entity or an individual that's requesting at that threshold, it goes from 5 days to 21 days. And that's not Montgomery rules. Those are rules that the Attorney General is setting to protect the taxpayer and the public entity.
Protect the taxpayer from what? I mean, that's public information. So it sounds like we need more administration. I can't believe I'm saying it.
Well, so that right there to protect the taxpayer from having to hire, and we've already hired one person because the increase in FOIAs that we have had. I will never, let me be clear. I want to give taxpayers and our residents the information they request. It is our job to provide that in a spirit.
You put the requests online after they're submitted, because if I recall, yes, the Glenbrook district did that. Only one of the reasons was they were tired of getting FOIAs asking for the same thing that somebody else FOIA'd, and by putting it online, they could say, "Hey, it's online because somebody FOIA'd that 2 months ago," or so. I mean, so you do put them online.
Everything's online, and I got a little bit of heat for that. But I believe that that's also in the spirit of transparency to see what's being asked and by whom. You can be anonymous, by the way, or you can make up fictitious names, all of which I think has happened or is happening.
Pete Hansen.
Oh, my name's there.
I do think, and this is not unique to us, but we are not exempt from it. The FOIA process is being weaponized as a strategy to create time, energy, and resources, which is pulling us from other things. And while I want to be transparent, while I want to get residents their information they request in a timely fashion, there is an awful lot of opportunities that we need to spend energy elsewhere. And that's where I think there's a necessary governors in place for this very reason. Because
do you think
want there's people spending time on kids?
Pete, we just had the phrase "more administration" come up, and that begs a question I've always wanted to ask you. We always run out of time, but I think it plays into this. God.
Whoa, look at the time.
So, and then you're from Ohio, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
In Illinois, 1 out of every 10 school districts in the United States is in the state of Illinois. Do the math on that we're one of 50 states. I know we're a bigger state, but still 1 out of every 10 school districts is in Illinois. I know back in Niles Township, they had 9 for the one high school district, which was 2 schools, Niles North and Niles West. They had 9 elementary districts feeding into that 2 school high school district. Some of those districts were literally one building with a superintendent, an assistant superintendent, and a principal, and all sorts of, budget manager and stuff. And I know you guys have done the shared services between the high school district and 67, which I assume has saved some costs. But what's your take on, are the districts too small? Because there's an you have, no offense, but you have an administrative office there on Waukegan Road. Deerfield High School has an administrative office, I'm sure, by their high school. Libertyville, all these schools, and then the elementaries. And other states don't do that. I mean, I don't know what the setup is in Ohio offhand, but other states don't do that. And I don't want us to be like CPS, Chicago Public Schools, which is a giant bureaucracy. But are we too small of districts because of that number I mentioned?
So that's a big question. One, let me remind you both that I'm from Lake Forest now. Which I just want to say, proud resident.
We're all new. We're all moved. We all came to Lake Forest.
Did you list your house already?
I did not.
We can recommend Michelle Park.
I know a guy. I know a gal.
No, thank you. In Ohio, we only had unit districts, meaning they were all K-12s. So that's all I knew. Illinois that was novel to me, but we are not the only state that has elementary, high school, and K-12s. So that's important to know. In Ohio, I thought we had, now this is me personally, I thought we had a lot of districts, and there were 612 districts in Ohio. And some of them, my first district that I was ever superintendent had 1,000 kids, and it was 50 square miles. It was rural, but when you think of there was 610 other districts or 610 and 11, it seems like you could combine. That never happened. Here, I had to learn a little bit about how it was different, but I also learned from a national lens that we're not unique. But we do have, I don't know if I believe your stat could be correct. I've never seen it, but there's 800 or 900 districts. It's incredible.
We have more districts than California, which is the largest state in the country, population.
Like, for example, conversely, the one that has some of the fewest is Florida, because they do county schools. And I think that also has its own challenges. We have saved, before I go there, I think if you could make a magic wand and say that we could combine some of these, I think that would make sense fiscally. With that not being a possibility at this point, the fact that these two districts are celebrating 20 years of shared services, we are the only high wealth districts in the country that are sharing. So they did a study before I got here. Normally, well-resourced districts have no interest in shared services. Usually, the more less resourced or impoverished districts that are looking at sharing personnel. So 2024 is actually the 20th anniversary. And we are able, I don't use the word save, Joe, because I think that's misleading. We are able to repurpose about $7 million in a 5-year forecast because of shared services. That's real money. So we're able to offer things, like look at the high school, we're able to offer Stevenson or New Trier level programming because we're able to reinvest money that we would be spending on admin. Additionally, I'm reducing admin because I'm now that I'm starting year 4, I've reduced several positions last year because I think we're streamlining things. So I'm constantly looking at that, and we're reducing FTEs in both districts right now, admin and faculty and staff, because I don't know, my previous COOs or treasurers. I believe in fiscal conservative. I believe in using the resources we have in the best way for kids, but not spending where I don't think we need to.
Joe,
But
hold on,
you
Joe.
can't.
Hold on,
Okay.
Joe. We're getting towards the end, and
Sure.
this poor guy's getting kicked around all week.
It's still been a great week. It's been a
I know.
great
Give me some. Let's close out with some positive stuff. When does the school year start? When do
It
the
already started,
did
Pete.
it?
Yeah.
When?
Did you see all the flags up in Market Square in front of the high school?
When did
When
it
you
start?
did your walk down McKinley?
When
Come
did it?
on.
The high school started? The
But
Yeah.
both districts started on Wednesday. Let me give you a highlight reel
all right, go ahead.
that doesn't sound like a commercial, but things that made me proud this week. So both districts started on Wednesday. Thank you for that. We welcomed faculty and staff back on Monday. So Monday night, you heard, was not a good night for me. Wednesday, everybody came back, and faculty, staff, students, there was a lot of positive energy and joy. So the hallways are full, and we have an exciting year ahead of us. This year, or this week, we also announced that the high school boosters received an anonymous donation of $388,000
You're welcome.
for a brand new scoreboard at Varsity Field that will be installed hopefully before the end of this season. Then the boosters also announced, I met with the boosters to celebrate and make that announcement about the anonymous donation on Wednesday night, I think, the Tuesday. It's running together with me. The boosters agreed to fund another $54,000 on new baseball and softball scoreboards, as well as sound systems. We also, in the previous donation, we also got a new sound system for Varsity Field. So we announced that maybe Wednesday that was happening. So that energy is incredible. The Chicago Magazine over the weekend ranked the high school #1 in Lake County. I have that magazine somewhere. I should have had it for you ready to go.
Yeah.
This magazine came out over the weekend. Numbers aren't everything, but it's always nice to get celebrated. So we were
I didn't know that. We're going to post that. That's awesome.
Number one in Lake County. We're starting our work for strategic planning and metrics, actually evaluating, are we actually doing what we're saying we're doing? So it was a great week. But
how's the construction coming with the money you got from the referendum with the stuff there?
The enabling phase is wrapping up. So we did about 7 million plus of construction over 60 days this summer. There's a stack of bathrooms that are brand new, renovated over the summer. The art rooms are completed. We have the flex rooms, which are going to give us an opportunity to test out how we want all the classrooms to be. That'll be like our test classrooms. Those are done. We have a new security vestibule at the high school that just opened up. That also happened this summer. It was a good week. There's peaks and valleys in every week, though.
And I'll give a plug to the football team. They're selling those coupon books for raising money. If you buy the book and use the coupons at all the restaurants here in town, you will get more than what you paid for that book back in savings. Duffers, Lantern, all the local places have coupons in that book, and it is the best buy around. So find a football player that's selling the book. Because it's a great
softball, soccer, hockey, all of them.
I don't know if there's another team selling the book.
I think
they're all selling Christmas trees.
We got ours from a football player. So,
Matt, I gave Parents Care a hard time. We'll close out on this. I said, you know what? If there aren't metrics and you want to be an oversight, then if somebody's not giving you metrics and you come up with metrics of, the school needs to do better compared to what? Compared to 4 years ago. And I don't buy that. I lost my mind on the show. Maybe you want to check it out or whatever. I left it unedited. But is there one metric that you've come up with yet that could say, you know what, you're in your senior year at the high school, 4 years, where do we want to get to testing or something that just says, hey, we're doing a good job?
I don't understand this conversation too. I'm curious by it because this is the first time in my career I have been in a place where after 3 years, we have a portrait of a learner that has competencies that we want our students to have before they walk out of the doors. We have 2 separate strategic plans that are aligned to the portrait of a learner. We have 2 separate metric documents that defines where we want to be each year and how. And then we have board adopted goals that are aligned to all of that. I promise you, Joe, you didn't have that as a board member. Like, it doesn't happen in the country. So I have, if you look at the metrics on 67, each year, let me find it over here.
I'd say, give me one.
Look, District 67 metrics, it's on page 9. Okay. It says at 2024, we want to be at the 75th percentile for achievement. At 2025, we want to be at the 80th. At 2026, the 85th, 27, 90th, 28, 95. I don't get it. Like, Pete, this has been 3 years worth of work. It's everywhere online. It's on the website.
We'll put it right here, Matt. We'll put it right here.
So
I feel better.
I'm
kind of an agnostic when it comes to all the metrics, because I've heard both sides for 30 years. Yeah, and I suspect 30 years from now, people will be having these same debates about test scores and standardized tests and, all these things.
Because we're trying to measure a human.
Right.
It is a double-edged sword, but I'm confused when somebody tells me we don't have metrics and we haven't defined them.
Well, a lot of it was created not because of Lake Forest, but it was created because of, I hate to say Chicago, but schools that had very poor outcomes of student achievement. And people said, hey, if I'm going to pay all these taxes, and the federal government said, if we're going to give you all this money, and the state came in, we got to have something, right? So
you have to balance accountability. Yeah. Like, that has to be a part of it, but it can't be the sole thing. We have metrics defined. We're tracking our progress. The metrics were defined by the board, by the community. What we interface with many stakeholders. It wasn't just me in a box creating them. And as the report card comes out this fall, I'm going to tell you very publicly, here's what our celebrations are. Here's where we're continuing to grow. But I'm not going to tell you that we failed if we are at the 75th percent instead of the 95th. That would be like saying you're building a house, you have a GM, the electrical contractor came in, finished their job, and said they failed because the house yet isn't complete. We are a work in progress, and we should celebrate what goes well. And when we screw up or fall short, you're going to hear from me. And that's why I sent the thing out on Tuesday or Monday. I can't remember when it went out.
Matt, I'll give it to you. You showed up. I reached out. You showed up. Kudos, And we'll see if that HR person's still around. If the kids are going to get scorecards, the teachers should as well. The recruiting leader gets an F. Everybody have a great weekend. Matt Montgomery, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Dr. Montgomery.
Thank you both. Take care.
All right. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Bye. The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M.